There's a rumor that some billionaires reply to their emails in less than 10 minutes. For example, Jeff Bezos, aka the guy with the evil villain laugh. Well, he deliberately made his email very public so that Amazon customers could send him complaints. And then he would go and whip his employees to make sure the problem was solved. That's capitalism. Today I found 100 billionaire email addresses and I'm going to ask all of them for something. For example, I emailed Jeff Bezos to ask if I could use his company and rocket for a video concept, knowing that the last known price for a ticket on his rocket to space was $28 million. That's clearly above my video budget. Right now, I'm just kidding myself. I'll never go on your rocket, Jeff. I'm not Katy Perry. We've sent the first of 100 emails today and we'll review the results at the end of the video. #watch time. The second billionaire on this list, Xavier Niel, inspired me to make this video. He's kind of the least hated billionaire among the French. He created Free Mobile. And actually, in all the interviews I found about him, people say that Xavier personally replies to all his emails within the hour. Basically, if he doesn't reply within an hour, he never will.
I try to reply to all my emails, so whenever someone sends me an email, I always try to answer it.
There's something at stake here, and I know exactly what angle to use. 6 years ago, I acted in a Freebox Pop commercial. Since then, I've secretly wanted to be the face of Free. I wish it was for the money, but they paid me very little. But being on TV, since I'm extremely narcissistic, was fun. I wrote him an email to ask if he needed a social media star to promote his brand. I even sent him a short video with my email to make it interactive and encourage a reply. Otherwise, I was going to offer him dance lessons.
But I'm here. I'm waiting for you. Where are you? Where are you? Come on, come on, come on. Do you want to meet in the parking lot? Come on, come on.
Let's be honest, we're both just as bad at acting, right? Well, I managed to find quite a few emails in tech, but I'd really like to get in touch with people in sports. Football, for example. For example, I found OM President Pablo Longoria, who's quite active. He's not a billionaire, but I'll still try messaging him. Timothy Cuisin. Actually, Tim Cook is Apple's current president and a real powerhouse. He wakes up at 3:30 a.m. and checks his emails first thing. His email address is actually public. Most of his emails come from Apple teams, but occasionally customers send him problems or thank you notes. What stood out to me is that he has responded to people who said the Apple Watch saved their lives. Apple Watch now has a system to detect strokes early. I made a photo montage of myself with the watch and emailed him to thank him for saving my life. Okay, I admit I'm kind of freeloading because I haven't had any problems and I don't even have an Apple Watch. Sorry, Tim. Well, there are plenty of other billionaires, for example, Warren Buffett, who is a very well-known investor. I asked him for stock advice, aware that some Reddit users have received written replies from Warren Buffett. We can't really blame the guy. He's 90 years old, but someone should tell him there's a little reply button under emails. Ariana Huffington is the woman who owns the Huffington Post. It's a newspaper. There are people who say she accepted them for an internship by email. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I want to become an intern at the Huffington Post. By the way, speaking of that, I think one of the emails I get the most is internship requests. Just so you know, since November 2022, I've received 127 internship requests. Do you think that's more or less than the Huffington Post? Anyway, I kept sending emails. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, other billionaires I don't know. When I don't know them, I just ask for advice. I tell myself, if the guy has succeeded in life, he might be able to give some advice to people who watch this video. Of course, it's not just about money. I can already feel the email coming. Take a cold shower at 3 a.m. Well, when you think of a billionaire, who comes to mind? The richest man in the world, obviously. Today, he's at 498 billion. A guy made a site where you try to spend 100 billion. For example, I could buy 11,000 Big Macs at €2 each and still have plenty left. All right, let's buy 100 McDonald's franchises, 1,000 Formula Ones, 12 Apache helicopters, 7 Boeing 747s, and come on, why not 23 cruise ships? That's fine, I still have 62 billion left. And Elon Musk would still have 462 billion left. Well, you might know this, but we recently released Creators. They're small collectible figurines of YouTubers. And I'm the first figurine, and we had some major issues with production. Elon Musk is known for being really good at automation, production, and so on. At least that's what he says and what he's known for. He's supposed to be an engineer, so I asked him if he had any manufacturing advice for the next Creators. Honestly, if he answers, that would be incredible. Pre-orders for my Creators figurine are ending soon. Find the link in the description. Well, since we're on YouTube, there's also the one and only, the first billionaire of the YouTube game, Jimmy Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast. Well, with him, it's pretty obvious what we can ask him. I emailed him about joining an upcoming video. The wild part is his team reached out 3 years ago. They wanted to launch his channels in French. They offered to make a short video for me if I did it. I ended up trolling, tried to get him to say something funny, and after that, he stopped replying. Makes sense. But anyway, I did mention at the end of my email that I was sorry about that. To stay a bit on the topic of the YouTube scene, there's a guy named Tim Swing. You might not know him, but he's the guy who created Epic Games. I'm gonna ask him the question I think 90% of Fortnite YouTubers have already asked. Hi, could I get a skin that looks like me? I did mention I wasn't asking for much. Maybe he'll agree since I've only made about 10 Fortnite videos ever, but I do have a creator code. Sorry, Tim. If you won't respond, at least you'll pay me. Right now, there are about 10 billionaires, and I think Richard Branson is a good candidate. He's the guy who created the Virgin Airline company, and he has a reputation for being a bit of a crazy billionaire. And like any good billionaire, he has his own private island. I found some photos on the internet, and it looks pretty nice. Look, 11 years ago, he even made a video on YouTube where he's showing off on his island doing extreme sports. So I asked him if he would invite me to his island. Honestly, that would be a masterclass. But with billionaire islands, you never really know what to expect. Not all billionaires can be funny and eccentric. That's why I'm going to send an email to Jamie Dimon. Basically, he's the boss of the biggest American bank. The reason I'm sending him an email is because there's an article about an intern who emailed him and got a reply the same day for a 15-minute meeting. I suggested a meeting with him to pitch him an investment idea in the creator economy. I have absolutely no idea what to propose to him, but it could be fun. Obviously, I'm looking to send emails to high-profile billionaires, I mean the global top 100. But there are also others who are a bit more discreet, and I've done my research. For example, there's this guy, Strive Masiowa. Several Facebook posts claim he reads every email in his inbox. Honestly, I don't know him. He's a Zimbabwean entrepreneur who founded Econet, a telecom company like Free or Orange. And as a little side note, in the 2000s, it was very common for the richest person in a country to be a telecom entrepreneur. It seems that it was an extremely profitable sector. Today, maybe a little less, but that still means we're getting pretty ripped off on our phone plans. We're still overpaying for phone plans, except in France, where rates are low, thanks in particular to Xavier Niel, who we mentioned earlier. At least that's one of his current achievements. Anyway, next we have Chris Nassetta, the CEO of Hilton, you know, the hotel chain. I checked, and there are some high-quality hotels. I asked if I could get a free room to try. Honestly, you'll see, I'm trying to find a balance between only suggesting troll ideas and suggesting things where, honestly, it would be cool if they said yes. The truth is, I think my success rate will be extremely low, but not zero. Just so you know, I already have responses from several billionaires, but we'll get to that later. For the next one, I found a guy who runs a company I don't know at all. It's called Flavor Wiki. It's a company that gathers data on tastes. It's odd, but they help food companies find the best flavors for their products. I emailed him for help designing a Didier-themed drink with a hint of obsidian flavor. I haven't tasted obsidian, but I doubt it's good. Do you know Ryan Reynolds? He's not a billionaire, just 350 million. It's okay, Ryan, we forgive you for being poor. But I noticed something. He has a website that he personally created for his fans. That seems really weird to me. Why did I create a private site? To protect my fans from fakes. Brad Pitt should have done the same, honestly. Well, okay, that's good. There's a list of his movies. But what interests us is this little area. Actually, you can suggest movie ideas to him. The interesting thing is that you have to choose a file, so you can't just brainstorm the movie idea in writing. He absolutely wants a PDF or an image. On the other hand, something that's a bit weird and makes me doubt the authenticity of this site is that the site is called IamRyanReynolds.waz.com. It looks like a pretty sketchy hosting provider to me, so either it's a fake site or Ryan Reynolds, you can't afford to buy a domain name. Bro, you're worth $350 million. Seriously, I checked a .com on OVH. It costs 13 euros a year. If you want, I'll pay for it for you. And speaking of OVH, what if we sent a message to Octave Klaba? Now, he's not very well known, but he's French, well, Polish, but he moved to France, and he's the creator of the hosting company OVH. If you haven't heard of it, you should know it hosted Palladium for years. I know it very well, including all its problems. But above all, a few years ago, OVH caused a big stir because their data center went up in flames. Well, it was extremely sad. And I believe that on Nation's Glory, they actually lost one of their servers that was hosted in that very data center. And I can't even imagine the sense of crisis that Octave must have felt at that moment. You know, it's true that he was posting tweets where he was in a t-shirt. You could tell the guy was fixing everything by hand. Well, maybe it was probably just for PR. But anyway, those were moments that really stuck with me. I emailed him to ask about visiting an OVH data center. I think it would be a great topic for the Fuzai Okare channel. It would be similar to Toby Lutka, who created Shopify. Our data center at Hashtag in the Palladium offices is like that. Shopify sponsors many videos on the channel, but I think I might have a chance for him to reply because he's actually pretty close to content creators. For example, when he was doing those Tim Water, Tim Trees things, etc., every time among the biggest donors, he was in there. So same thing, I sent him an email and asked if he was interested in reviewing the Fuse shop, so maybe I'll get advice coming directly from the creator of Shopify. Whitney Wolfhard has an unusual name, but she's the creator of Bumble, the dating app. I emailed her about making a Bumble for dogs since I just adopted one and thought it could be useful. Honestly, I didn't know what to say and I doubt she'll reply. Plus, a social network for dog dating is kind of a parody of a Silicon Valley app. When people want to make fun of startup founders, that's the first idea that comes up. The number of emails is increasing quickly. Emmett Shear is the creator of Twitch. I asked him if he'd be interested in doing a YouTube live with me. It's fine. He sold Twitch. Twitch? Well, I think so, actually. I'm not even sure. Anyway, what is certain is that he's no longer running Twitch. Jason Citron. No, he doesn't do fruits and vegetables. He's the creator of Discord. So the slightly worrying thing is that I think he just got kicked out of the presidency of Discord. They replaced him with a guy who's an expert in microtransactions, so that doesn't bode well for Discord. I still offered to make some Discord plushies, even though they already exist. I thought they might want a new supplier since we make plushies for many YouTubers. So I offered plushies to other companies as well. For example, Salesforce. It's a big B2B sales company, meaning they target other businesses. I can't imagine a world where they'd need a plushie, but just in case, we can make one for them. All right, I promise I'll stop trolling because it would be cool to get real answers. So I sent a Google Meet invitation to Eric Yuan. He's the creator of Zoom. Yeah, listen, it was just too tempting. Brian Chesky, the creator of Airbnb. I asked him which was the best Airbnb on the platform according to him, so I could go there. I'm not even asking him to give me a discount. I hope you'll answer me, Brian. Travis Kalanick. Now he's got a lot of baggage, you know. I invite you to Google his name. There are plenty of scandals. But he's the creator of Uber, who, by the way, got fired because of all those scandals. And what's special about him is that after Uber, he went on to create a ghost kitchen company. You know, those are the ghost kitchens. When you order on Uber Eats, for example, sometimes it's restaurants that don't really exist. They just make the food and send it to you, but they don't accept customers on site. So I suggested to him to open a ghost kitchen with an Uber theme, like the Uber kitchen. Now that I think about it, that's basically Uber Eats. He created ghost kitchens for that reason. I never got why he switched businesses, but he really knew what he was doing. I'm figuring things out as I go, which is great. As for him, I won't try to say his name. He's Wise's CEO. It's an online bank that's really annoying because it closes accounts easily. So I asked him to send me €1 to my Wise account. Bro, share a little. Actually, it's kind of like people who ask me to give them free stuff. Like, you can't imagine the number of emails I get from people asking me for free Minecraft accounts, old PCs of mine that I don't use anymore, things like that. I understand why people try, but it just doesn't work. I can't imagine what it's like for YouTubers like French Hardware, who gave me the Palladium PC. So for them, the number of emails from people asking them for PCs must be huge. The Rock, you know him, he's an extremely muscular actor. He's also an entrepreneur. For example, he has his own tequila brand. He probably doesn't drink his own tequila much because alcohol affects muscle recovery. Does The Rock drink alcohol? I'm sure he doesn't, but there's no info about it. For example, I know that 50 Cent, an old school rapper from the 2000s, had a champagne brand but didn't drink alcohol. At parties promoting his champagne, he'd fill his glass with water and fake drinking his own brand. I have to admire that cunning. Later, I asked The Rock for a cameo in his next movie and said I'd even shave my head to be like him. Sergey Brin, one of Google's founders, reportedly had a falling out with his co-founder after cheating on his wife. That's just an anecdote. So what's funny is that Sergey Brin originally left Google to go surfing or something like that. Basically, he took a vacation. Honestly, you can't blame the guy. I think a lot of people with 120 billion would have gone on vacation way before him. Recently, with everything happening, he returned and got involved. Rumors say he's now leading Google's AI team himself to prevent them from being surpassed by ChatGPT. So, to stay on that topic, I told him I was a French artificial intelligence researcher and that I had developed a new multimodal model and wanted to present it to him. It would be hilarious if he accepted, but also stressful since I wouldn't know what to say. Yeah, I like the token inputs here and then. Okay, boom, artificial intelligence. Yeah, Serena Williams. So yes, she's a tennis player, but she's also a successful investor. Well, I challenged her to a one-on-one in tennis. Yeah, the last time we played tennis with Awen, it didn't end very well. David Beckham, I challenged him to a juggling contest. I could beat him anytime. As for Ben Francis, I honestly don't get how he became a billionaire, but he did found Gymshark. You know, all the people who go to the gym and everything, well, they wear that brand. So I don't get it because for me, okay, the products are cool, but really the fact that it's worth so much, yeah, it's incredible. So I asked him if he could send me a free t-shirt, and if he does, I promise to promote his brand and show how muscular I am. I'm not sure that's going to be much publicity. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's not an ad because it's not for sale, but we got the Recube t-shirts. So that's the fusion of Palladium and Nation's Glory. That's Recube. And so we made some little t-shirts for the team. So yeah, you don't give a shit. I really disagree. Gabe Newell is the guy who created Valve and by extension Steam. There's been a running joke at Valve for like 20 years. When is Half-Life 3 coming out? It's a game that had a huge influence on the gaming world. So I'm going to add my little contribution and spam him about it too. I think he's tired of it. Let's keep discussing billionaires. I found an interesting one and randomly invited him for coffee in Paris. No real reason. Evan Spiegel is actually the creator of Snapchat. Except the way I found him was by looking at the list of French billionaires. Is Snapchat a French unicorn? Well, no, not at all, actually. Actually, I don't know why Evan Spiegel decided to acquire French citizenship. I think when it comes to this choice, nobody warned him about French taxes. Nice one, Emmanuel. You brought in a good taxpayer this time. Brian Armstrong. No, he didn't walk on the moon. He's Coinbase's creator. Coinbase lets you buy cryptocurrency. I emailed him a Bitcoin address and we'll see at the video's end if he sent money. That would be impossible. Actually, no, I mean impossible. I don't believe it at all. Steve Ballmer is the former CEO of Microsoft, and by the way, he has a pretty interesting achievement. I think he's the richest employee in the world. That is to say, everyone on the list were either entrepreneurs, actors, athletes, and so on, but there were no employees. He didn't create a company. He was just one of the first employees at Microsoft, and he was very well paid for it. Meanwhile, he left Microsoft, he messed up a bit, and bought a basketball team. Now that's his focus. I suggested he buy me a plane ticket to watch his team play, and then we could talk. Steve's my buddy. I've played with him for years. Reed Asting is the guy who created Netflix. So I pitched him a little series about the world of Palladium. Palladium. There's a running gag in the South Park episodes that Netflix buys anything and everything. We'll see if that's true and if they accept my pitch. Neil Moan. So him, he's not really a billionaire, but I still wanted to send him an email. He's the CEO of YouTube. Well, don't worry about him. He's not a billionaire, but he's still doing very well. But I sent him a little thank you email because I've been making videos on YouTube for 13 years. Today, it's my job and I love it. Without him and the entire YouTube team, none of this would be possible. Am I praising YouTube to get noticed by the algorithm? Definitely. And finally, the very last one on the list, the greatest billionaire of all time, Marcus Persson, also known as Notch. He's the creator of Minecraft. And just like with YouTube earlier, let's be honest, it's kind of thanks to him that I have a career. So I sent him a little message to find out if he regrets selling Minecraft. Now, Microsoft is making huge profits from these mediocre Minecraft spin-offs. Still, I doubt he regrets it. He bought the most expensive house in Los Angeles, though he did experience some depression. Who wouldn't get a little depressed with $2 billion? Anyway, I contacted 100 billionaires and will wait a few days. Some replied within the hour, but I expect more will respond. Let's have fun looking at their replies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a week later. Did any billionaires reply to us? The answer is yes. And actually, out of the 100 emails we sent, we got a lot of responses. One of the first emails I sent and one of the first emails I received was from Xavier Neal. Yes, he replied to me. His response was pretty brief, but he still replied. Thanks. I sent it to Free's marketing team. Great job, Xavier. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe I'll share the follow-up. Also, please don't spam those who replied to me. They're already nice enough to take time out of their day. Don't make them regret it. Next, we have a guy named Rand Fiskin. I admit, I don't even know what this guy does. Apparently, he has a website called SparkToro. Well, it looks like some kind of business thing anyway, but somewhere he said he replies to all the emails he gets, and it's true. I asked him for advice and he said no. Sorry, honestly, that's nice. Next, we've got a big name, Tim Sweeney. Remember, I asked him if we could make my skin in Fortnite. Well, he totally shut me down. Thank you very much for writing to me. Regarding your question, the answer is no. Please have a nice day. Honestly, Tim, what a cool guy. He wishes me a good day. Just his email. Well, have a nice day. Honestly, Tim is such a cool guy. He wishes me a good day. Just his email makes me smile. Well, I still would have preferred to get a positive answer from him. Next, I sent an email to the boss of a company called Sonos. Like, they make speakers. I kind of trolled them a little bit. I said that I had a problem with my Devialet. If you didn't get it, those are not the same speakers at all, actually. It's like going to Samsung to say you have a problem with your iPhone. But they replied to me completely seriously, giving me advice on how to diagnose the problem. But honestly, he really glitched out. Just to check, the Devialet speaker. Hey, that's actually the name you gave your Sonos speakers room. Honestly, respect to them. I think they saw that I was messing with them, but they stayed professional. Ryan Rutan, he's a guy who created a site called startups.com, and I think they're investors who invest in startups. Yeah. Guys, getting email addresses for 100 billionaires is hard enough. I wanted advice on scaling creators, the figurines I mentioned. He replied kindly, so thanks to him. Hi, Julian. My advice would be to prioritize effectiveness over efficiency. Most people fail at scaling because they develop things that aren't fully effective, all in the name of greater efficiency. Faster, bigger, cheaper, etc. You're in France? I'm in Madrid right now. It would be nice to have a coffee together. What the fuck? Okay, well listen, I'm grabbing coffee with Ryan Rutten. I don't know who he is. Looking him up online, I'm a little doubtful that he's a billionaire. But listen, why not? I'll keep you posted in a short. Guy Ferry, American restaurateur. I think he has a chain of restaurants that are apparently closed today, so he kind of failed. But I think he has shows in the United States about restaurants, like Food Stars. Well, I suggested he do an episode of The Mixture. He forwarded the email to his assistant. Thank you for thinking of Guy for this opportunity. We are not scheduling any interviews at the moment. Our calendar is full. We'll keep your offer in mind for the future. Honestly, it's nice when people actually reply no. Mea culpa. I rarely respond when people ask me for things and my answer is no. Sorry. Then I asked Jean-Charles Samuelian a question. We're back in France, hooray. So he's the CEO of a company called Alan. If you're in the working world, you probably know it. It's a next-gen health insurance. We use it at all our companies. I'm not sponsored, but I wish I were. And honestly, when you compare it to everything else in France, you know, when you have to fill out paperwork, all those awful things, Alan is genuinely a pleasure to use. Everything is automated. It's cool. I asked him if he was planning to offer other types of insurance. For example, home insurance, car insurance, and he told me yes, and it's a surprise. By the way, they're already offering life and disability coverage. There you go. I just spoiled it and totally messed up Alan's whole strategy. Nice. Honestly, I'm glad he answered me. Next, Jamie Dimon, the head of the big American bank chase. I asked him if it was possible to have a 15-minute interview, and it was his assistant who replied to me. Thank you for asking, but Jamie won't be able to do it. No problem. That works for me. I don't know what I could have said to him anyway. The last one who replied to me is a guy named Jess Anley. He's the creator of a site called Bento. It's a site that I believe lets you capture email addresses to use for marketing afterwards. I asked him for advice as a YouTuber who sells merchandise. Like me with FuseShop.fr, he sent me a great email full of tips, which made me very happy. Nice to meet you and congrats on your YouTube success. So he advises me to only send emails that are wanted and expected. The biggest mistakes I see are short-term strategies to grow your contact list, like giveaways and gifts that don't align with your main goals. It's always better to have a small list that reads everything you write and buys rather than a huge list that does nothing. You know what? Since he was nice and replied to me, I decided to create an email list. I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but the link is in the description. Enter your email and I'll email you updates. There you go. Honestly, I didn't think I would get so many responses. Even with some trolls, I feel a little bad for some people who took the time to reply to me, but I'll try to thank them. And, well, the other guy who wants to have a coffee, we'll give it a try. And Xavier, I'm waiting for an email.